Okay, and this is going to be part 2 of Les Miserables. And I believe where I left off, I was talking about the second part of the movie, where Cosette meets Marius, and they fall in love. So, yeah, they fall in love, but Jean Valjean doesn't know that they're in love. She's afraid to tell him because it's very dangerous. He's a member of this student rebellion, and he feels kind of like Cosette is the only person that he loves, and he doesn't really have anything else. So when he finds out that she's in love with another man, and he feels a little betrayed by that in a way, but ultimately he ends up rescuing Marius. There's this big epic battle that happens in the movie where all the students are rebelling against the military. And Marius is badly injured, and Jean Valjean rescues him and basically has to carry him through all these sewer pipes to get him out of harm's way. And it's pretty horrendous in the movie, as it is in the book too. But yeah, so he rescues Marius, and ultimately him and Cosette are united, but Jean Valjean becomes very ill by the end. I think he develops tuberculosis or some other disease as a result of climbing through all those sewer pipes with Marius earlier. And by the end of the movie, not to give it away too much if you haven't seen it, but he dies at the end. As he does in the book, and as he does in the musical. So, and it's the most moving and emotionally, wrenching death scene I've ever seen in my life. Hugh Jackman you can just feel his pain in his final moments, but also just his longing to be released and to just be at peace, like for his soul to be at peace. And he was just wonderful in that death scene. That scene made me cry. It made me feel so emotional, and every time I watch it, even to this day, it makes me cry. It's just such a tender and beautiful scene, but like very sad, but at the same time very uplifting. And just the message that the movie ends with, it ends with such hope. The final thing that you see all the spirits of the people that died throughout the film, and they're all singing. Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. So it really ends with a feeling of great hope, and it leaves you with that, I think. Even though a lot of tragic things happen in this story, it represents, never giving up on your dreams, always being ready to stand up and fight for what you believe in, and it represents all the different aspects of the human condition. Jean Valjean is like the saint in the story, Cosette is like the angel, Marius is kind of, I guess you could call him the hero. You could call Javert the ego of the story, and Fantine is the tragedy. So they all represent different parts of the human psyche, and that's what's brilliant about Victor Hugo's novel. It really has so much to say about the human race and the human spirit, and the direction we're moving in, and where we need to go if we're going to survive as a human race. So the first people to rebel, the first people to stand up for what's right, and they inspired so many others that came after, even though they ultimately failed. They died martyrs. They died for what they believed in, all these students. So, and of course, Jean Valjean, all the characters revolve around him. So he represents the change. He represents what we can all do to help others, and how even just doing little things to help others has such a huge impact on the world, and all the characters are connected with him in all those ways. So, and okay, now to talk about the way the movie was filmed. Tom Hooper also directed The King's Speech, and the film is pretty much sticks with that same style. There's a lot of close-ups, there's a lot of framing on one side of the camera, so you'll see an actor on one side and the rest of it is background. So he doesn't often frame things in the middle. It's usually on this side or the other. There's tons of close-ups. It feels very intimate because of all the close-ups. It could be a little disorienting at times too, though, because sometimes, you know, it gets overwhelming, especially when the camera is spinning around the characters. There's not a lot of cuts between shots. In particular, when Hugh Jackman is singing "Bring Him Home," when he's singing about Marius and you know, and talking about how if I die, let me die, but let him live. So him and Cosette can be together. And throughout the whole song, the camera's spinning around him, and it's a little disorienting. But other than that, I thought all the camera angles and the way it was filmed was great. The look of the film, it's got a gritty reality to it, but at the same time, it's got a slightly surreal feel to it, which is a little hard to explain. Unless you see the movie, you'll know what I mean. There are parts that feel very theatrical, but there's also a lot of parts that feel very much grounded in reality at the same time, and it totally transports you to that time period. I would call it almost a heightened reality, the way it looks. There's no other way I can really explain it. So it's visually stunning. There's a lot of scenes that are just so awe-inspiring in it, especially the student rebellion scene when they're fighting the military. The musical score in that is so strong, and you know, it's bloody too. It doesn't shy away from the violence, but it's also very epic and just a really great, tightly choreographed battle scene. All the musical numbers are great, you know, all the classic numbers are there, you know, just as you'd expect, and they're all sung really well. All the actors have great voices. I probably already mentioned that, but you know, Hugh Jackman is a great singer, and Eddie Redmayne really blew my mind in this. He was incredible as Marius. He has a lovely singing voice. I never knew he could sing like that. He definitely sounds the most professional out of all the people. Like, his singing voice is very operatic, upper register tenor. I thought he was the best singer in the movie, to be honest. Hugh Jackman deserved the Academy, I think, and he would have got it if hadn't been for the wonderful Daniel Day-Lewis, who won for Lincoln. But I have to say, I thought Eddie Redmayne had the best singing voice out of everybody in this film. So, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about this. It's just a really great, epic motion picture that very much stays true to the original stage musical, but really elevates it to a whole other emotional level. The director doesn't try to really change it around that much. It follows pretty much the whole premise of the musical. There's a few musical, lyrics that are cut out, but other than that, it stays totally true to every song. It's just not quite dragged out as much as it is in the stage musical. But not much is cut out either. It's about, I would say, 2 hours and 20 minutes long, whereas the stage musical is a little over 3 hours, I guess. So it is cut down a little bit, but not much. Just trimmed down a bit. Some people might find this movie overlong, especially if they don't like a lot of singing. This movie is wall-to-wall singing. So if you're going to watch the movie, come to it expecting a lot of singing, because it's almost no spoken dialogue at all. It's wall-to-wall singing. So if you're not a fan of musicals in general, you probably will not like this. You might not get it. It's also very melodramatic in a lot of ways. They're basically singing about how they feel, all the actors, throughout the whole movie. So if you're not into that kind of stuff, you probably won't appreciate this movie. But then again, maybe not. I leave it for you to judge. It's just a great, solid movie all around, with really great acting from a really big cast. It's got a huge cast. all the main characters, as well as a lot of secondary characters as well. And if you've seen the musical, you know that pretty much every character in this has a musical number. So they're all given their moment to kind of shine in this. And one more thing I'll say about this, I really love the relationship between Jean Valjean and Cosette in this. It's very sweet. And there's an added song in it too, where he sings, "Never more alone, never more apart. You have, touched my heart like the sun." And he's basically singing about his love for her, and that at that point he was very lonely, and she kind of gave him a life to live, taking Cosette in as his daughter, and she becomes the treasure of his heart. So it's a very beautiful added song that was not in the original musical, but works really, really well as a bridge, kind of, between his relationship with the child Cosette and their relationship as she becomes older. So I thought it was a really beautiful song that fit the movie really well. So I think that's all I can really say about this. I could probably go on about it and do a part 3. There's just so much to say about this. You really have to be a fan of Victor Hugo's novel, or at least the musical itself, to really appreciate the story. If you haven't read Victor Hugo's novel, I highly recommend it. It's one of the greatest works of literature in human history. So if you love the book, you'll probably love the musical. If you love the stage musical, you'll love the movie. So that's my review on Les Miserables. It was a little long, but there was just so much to say about this, and it's, I would say, probably the best movie musical I've ever seen. Phantom of the Opera will always remain my favorite, but this, I think, is the most epic movie musical ever made. So there it is, Les Miserables. An unforgettable and powerful experience at the cinema. I hope you enjoyed that review, and the next review will be on the movie Thor, The Dark World. So I can't wait to see it. I'm really excited. And as soon as I see it, I'll be doing a review for you right away, okay? So have a good night, everyone. Later.